In Afghanistan, a drone flies over a small village and gets the attention of the locals, who immediately get ready for an attack. Soon, a bunch of American soldiers arrive and find the town empty because everyone is hiding inside. The team keeps moving, and when they find a suspicious man with a bomb, they immediately surround him, threatening to shoot him if he doesn't drop his weapon. At first, the man tries to ignore the threat, but when he sees the soldiers mean it, he takes out a gun, which forces the soldiers to instantly kill him with a few shots. Then Jake informs Colonel Mason about the dead man and the bomb, asking for permission to disarm it. Mason refuses, but Jake ignores him and works on it anyway. Successfully disarming it at that moment, a secret second bomb goes off and kills most of the soldiers. Soon the men come out of the buildings and surround the Americans as they open fire, and a vicious gunfight begins. American soldiers are falling everywhere, and only Jake and Mason are left alive. Jake runs to join his colonel and is almost shot by the enemy, but Mason saves his life right before a helicopter shows up 5 years later. Jake is trying his best to deal with a new life as a civilian while taking medicine for his PTSD. His new job is at an auto shop owned by Earl, where he has to work extra hard to deal with some entitled clients after work. Jake goes home to spend his time with his family. He always makes sure to keep a happy mood for his son. But in private, things get tense when his wife points out they have lots of unpaid bills. However, Jake promises to take care of it, like he always does. When Jake puts his son to bed, he shares a picture and a story about his old squad, and the fact Mason was at the hospital when the baby was born. Jake laments not having spoken to Mason in a while, and when the kid asks if he ever killed anybody, Jake dodges the question. The next day, Jake goes to work and finds a group of gangsters claiming that Earl owes them money. When Jake tries to kick them out, the leader, Fresh, sends his men to beat him up, but Jake easily defeats them all with a wrench. Fresh makes him stop by showing him his gun. Then he leaves with his gang after promising a round 2 in the future afterward. Jake confronts Earl, who confesses he used to be part of a gang too, but was fortunate enough to leave that life and build something he could call a home. Earl promises he'll always protect his block so Jake doesn't need to worry about his family. Jake feels like he's still at war and calls his family to check on them, hearing his wife say he should have called the cops instead of getting involved later in the evening. Jake goes home and sees Fresh in his car, mentioning payback before driving away. A panicking Jake rushes inside the house and is devastated to discover his family is dead, so he screams and cries as he has a total breakdown. Moments later, the police arrive and try to ask him some questions, but Jake snaps and goes away in his truck. He drives through the city looking for Fresh's car, while his mind keeps going through his happiest family memories. Eventually, he finds the car outside a naughty club, so Jake rushes inside with a gun in hand and begins shooting every single gang member without hesitation when he is about to kill. Fresh the man explains that he hadn't meant to kill Jake's family, but he was given no choice. This doesn't change Jake's mind, and Fresh gets shot too. 5 months later, Jake is serving time in prison for his crime, and his PTSD gets worse as he spends most of his day picturing Fresh killing his family. One day, Jake is surprised to get a visit from Mason, who offers his help to reopen the case. However, Jake refuses because he thinks he belongs there, and repeats what he told the judge: he got his revenge, and now has zero remorse. He'd even do it again. Then Jake asks Mason to never come back and tells the guard to take him back to his cell that night. Jake keeps remembering his days with the army and how Mason had retired after saving his life some time later. Jake is visited by a stranger named Ramsey, who mentions he runs a private task force. However, Jake doesn't let him say more, and once again